Guess what, Lions? For as little as $5 a month, you can get access to exclusive bonus audio content and help this program grow by joining the Lions of Liberty Pride. To learn more, head over to lionsofliberty.com/support.
Welcome to Electric Liberty Land, here on the Lions of Liberty podcast, your weekly shot of culture, comedy, and liberty with your host, Brian McWilliams.
All right, welcome to Electric Liberty Land, everybody. This is Electric Liberty Land episode number 49, which means you can find it at lionsofliberty.com/ELL49. Now, today I have a very, very special guest. You may have heard him on numerous other episodes when I impersonate him with a dead-on impression, and you'll see how close it is today. But you've heard him before. He's known as the Godfather of the Lions of Liberty, and for damn good reason. The one and only Mr. Howard Snowdon. What's up, Howie?
Hey, Brian. Good to be back.
Good to have you back, my friend. And I can't think of anybody else I'd rather have in here talking about our first topic, which is going to be General Flynn. But before we do get into that first topic, I want to remind everybody listening here that we recently did a little bit of a redraft for our annual Liberty Draft, which we're going to make a regular yearly thing to revisit it. Because we did it right before the election. We did a draft where we took, in the snake format, as with a typical fantasy draft, a draft of the most fantastic Liberty candidates, or so we thought at the time, and we put them in different positions. So we did a little redux of that the other day, and Howie was actually drafted onto Rico's team, also known as Team TBD, and there is quite a little discussion going in the forum right now, Howie. I mean, I know you're pumped about this. Let me know your thoughts about being drafted.
Oh, yeah.
Into this
Actually,
draft.
I had to turn off my Facebook so you wouldn't keep hearing the beeps every time somebody posted.
From the flame war that's ongoing from this.
But you know
draft.
what? I mean, hey, we got a good team. Everybody loves The Rock. And we've got Trey Parker and Matt Stone. And, I mean, your impression of me, I criticize it because it sounds like a South Park character. But it's probably going to be perfect when they do the episode about me and The Rock running together.
That's true. I hope they call me in to voice you over. It's gonna be amazing.
He should.
So basically you guys I encourage everybody here though to go to our forum, look at Lions of Liberty forum. If you're not a member, just go to Facebook, type in Lions of Liberty, and it'll take you there. It's going to be the top pinned post. It's got all of the draft results, and it's got a poll where you can vote for the best team. Now, I think my team, Team Trumpel-Stiltskins, which is led by John Stossel, Judge Napolitano's on there, a whole litany of fantastic people. You got Dave Rubin on there, you got Joe Rogan on there. Anyway, it's a great team. But the polling closes on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I encourage anybody here that is a fan of Electric Liberty Land or is a fan of the Trumpel-Stiltskins or doesn't even give a shit and just wants to vote and be a real dickhead, go onto our poll and vote for Team TBD if Trumpel-Stiltskins is not in first place. Because screw Mark Claire's team and screw John Odermatt's team. Right, Howie?
Hey, and who better to have on the team than a Lion of Liberty? Come on.
Exactly. So vote for TBD only if I'm not already winning, which I don't think I will be at the time. So yes, let's hack this election like the Russians and get a good favorable outcome for Howie and Team TBD here.
We'll have to contact Kim.com's on TBD, see if he can
hack that shit, man.
pull some strings.
All right. Well, getting back into the regular stuff, guys. So top of the show, we want to talk about this basically all the outcome from all this garbage about Trump and collusion with Russia, which we've seen as this has played out. We've seen that all of these charges, all of these allegations that Trump and Putin were hand in hand and Trump was getting information and it was hacked information, all have fallen to pieces to the point now where they have basically petty charges against General Flynn. And it's what he's basically saying that he's admitting to lying to the FBI, and he lied to the FBI about what? A completely legal action that was approved by the Obama administration, basically to allow the incoming administration to talk to Russia in regards to an involvement, I believe it was with Israeli settlements and backing off and not escalating against certain sanctions. That's what I believe was the conversations, Howie.
That's right.
So
obviously no Russian collusion. And all the headlines are like, Jared Kushner directed General Flynn to contact Russia. Actually, Jared Kushner contacted him to contact every nation on the Security Council to talk about an Israeli issue.
Right.
I don't know how you get a Russian collusion from that. Yes, they're on the Security Council, but these communications were approved by the Obama administration. And the thing that gets me though is I can't understand why Flynn would lie. I mean,
I don't know either.
I know they know that they were being wiretapped. I'm pretty sure Mike Rogers let them in when he paid that secret trip to Trump Tower before Obama had him fired.
Right. So
I don't know. I'm hoping it's some kind of trap.
Well, I want to get into that later. So first I'm going to lay out just the basics here. So at the end of the day, that's all Trump is, or Flynn is basically pleading to lying to the FBI. Everything else he did was completely legal. And additionally, was a good thing. It's probably a good thing to have your incoming administration talk to the other, one of the other primary world superpowers and whom you are currently bypassing each other's jets in the sky around Syria about, certain things and making sure that the conflicts don't escalate over sanctions and whatever else. So, and all that's legal.
Sanctions that were just thrown on them on baseless accusations with no evidence.
Right. Well, also, the whole thing, like people like to talk about this collusion. And I was just talking to a couple of my very good friends and I asked them, I said, okay, let's just be honest with ourselves here. Even if collusion is not a crime anyway. Collusion is just a made up word. So that's not a crime, FYI. But collusion, okay, what do you think happened? Tell me why you think that Trump is guilty of dealing with the Russians and where the evidence you're getting is from. And they literally, I stopped and I listened for 10 minutes and literally not a single argument that was coherent. All it came around to was there's something there. I just know there's something there. And that's it. That's all anybody has in this whole instance.
And that's the main point, though. Even if there was so-called collusion, which I don't think that there was, it's not illegal. It would have to be some kind of conspiracy, like the Trump campaign helped Putin hack John Podesta's, super secure email with the password to password.
Right. They'd have to talk ahead of time to make the conspiracy about it. Or, the other way you could get them is if they didn't have the express permission of the Obama administration ahead of time, then like you could maybe look to get them under the Logan Act, or you could look to get them under, or maybe not the Logan Act, but you could look at maybe under like espionage. So there are ways they could have done it, but none of those actually happened. And even if they did get information, like there's a new report now, which was like, oh, Donald Trump Jr. asked this Russian lawyer, if she had any dirt on the Clinton campaign. Again, not fucking illegal. Nope. Perfectly legal. As long as they aren't having a conspiracy
that whole situation was a setup, too. They were trying to get something that they could frame the Trump administration.
Oh, totally. With. And meanwhile, people ignore, and this is I'm talking to these friends of mine again on Saturday night. I'm like, okay, so right now, guys, you've got General Flynn doing something legal, but lying to the FBI about it, and you're making this into a huge deal. Meanwhile, you're ignoring the fact that Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Party paid for a dossier and paid a spy to create a fake dossier of lies, which they then fed to the FBI or the NSA so that they could get a FISA warrant to then spy on Trump. And I'm like, but that's totally cool with you?
Yeah, nothing wrong with spying on your political opponents, isn't that? Well, you're in California, so I'm imagining the people you're talking to as communists, and those are, pretty common tactics.
They are very progressive, I'll say. I won't categorize them as socialists or communists, but they're getting goddamn close to it, man. So that's the basics of the situation right now. And now, though, I know this is what I'm saying. You're the perfect guy to have on to talk about this topic because Howie is, if you guys don't know this already, he is our resident news authority. So a lot of the information, a lot of the stories that I get to use for Electric Liberty Land, Howie actually finds, he goes through in the morning and he kind of pulls from different news sources from all over the place and sends them through. And he also likes to include very, very in-depth and well thought out conspiracy theories. And I want you to educate our audience a little bit about what you think is going on and what are some of these traps that you're talking about, because some of them, they seem incredibly plausible, and the evidence is adding up to make a lot of sense to say that this is Mueller's flipped, that this guy, Peter Strzok, there's the attempt.
I don't know how to say it either. I'm guessing like
Strzok. I think it's Strzok.
Probably like Strzok or something.
Yeah.
Strzok.
Strzok. I'm just say maybe Strzok. I don't know. Whatever.
It's probably Strzok.
We'll just call him Peter Z. So anyway, this guy, Peter, who was just recently came out that he was texting, anti-Trump stuff back and forth. He's just been removed, but he was the linchpin to, he spoke with Hillary Clinton. He was the one that basically helped James Comey word the dismissal of Clinton's charges, removing.
Let me stop you there for a second.
Okay,
It's like, it really seems, I keep seeing like even articles about this on CNN and things like that. I feel like Strzok's being set up as the fall guy. Cause like, he changed gross negligence to what did they say? Right.
It went from gross negligence to extreme.
Yeah. They're like, he changed that in Comey's statement. It's like, well, what the fuck? Is Comey Ron Burgundy? He's going to read whatever Strzok hands him. I mean,
and fuck
come on.
you, Washington, D.C.
It's like, yeah, Comey didn't have anything to do with this. He's a good guy. That Strzok changed it. Strzok did this. Strzok did that. We'll go through how corrupt this all is, but in the media, the blame for all of it now is being laid on Strzok.
Oh, totally, it is. And that's
I'm sure he's dirty, but
yeah, without a doubt,
he's not the only one.
Well, and it's not just him. It's there was a recent Zero Hedge article, which is linked at, again, where the show notes are, lionsofliberty.com/ELL49. But there's a whole Zero Hedge that breaks down all of the different people. There's like 8 people on the team. They're all huge, $4,000 to Obama donors, $4,000 to Clinton, or they're wrapped into the different people that they're involved with that are on the Clinton campaign. Like, they're all tied in and huge supporters of that Obama/Clinton entity. And they're all on this Mueller team. And this seems too crazy that you just blatantly pick all people that are easily exposed as being on that one side.
So in some of these conspiracies where people are debating whether Mueller's on Team Trump or not, that one theory is that he's picking all these people, all these lawyers that these Democratic folks would use where they charge with something, but because they worked on this case, they wouldn't be able to use any of them.
Right. It's like drafting somebody. Like if you're doing a fantasy football draft, you're like, well, I can see that my opponents haven't picked any quarterbacks yet, so I'll take the next best quarterback just to fuck them.
Yep. And this second guy now too is, I guess, wrote this letter praising what's her name, Yates, for disobeying the president's order on the travel ban.
Right.
Which, as we learned today from the Supreme Court, is completely legal, as anyone who could read the Constitution would know immediately.
Of course. Yeah, completely legal, but it is a clear indication of where his favoritism lies. Andrew Weissman. But I mean, like anything though, you can remove somebody from that. Just like if you post something on Facebook and your employer sees it and they say, oh, well, this goes against what I hired you to do, you can get fired for that sentiment. Now, I don't, these are emails. So,
so how do they have this guy's texts?
Well, messages? The text, I don't know. That is a very good question.
It probably has to do with, we just found out that the Department of Justice has been investigating the FBI for, about a year now.
Yep.
And an investigation was supposed to take about a year. And I think we're seeing some of this stuff now. They're trying to get out ahead of it because they know it's about due.
Yeah. Well, if the Washington Post is reporting it, that's always the chosen entity to leak anything in Capitol Hill too. But you're seeing a lot of Washington Post stories. You're seeing New York Times talk about it. I think it was the Times that had the first story about the ongoing investigation by the government into the FBI and their abuse of power and the politicization. I'm not going to say that word right now. The man. I couldn't even say Bears ears before. What the hell is going on? It's contagious, man. I know. I can't.
You come on ELL and you can't pronounce a word.
I know. I can't even think of how to pronounce it now in my head. Politicalization. How about that?
Politicization. I don't know.
Anyway, whatever the word is, I've said it a million other episodes. I can't say it now. It's gone. It's out of my head. That's what happens when you get old and you start drinking heavily. Anyway, so they're going to examine the FBI. So it's this ongoing investigation. But then there's also let's talk about this deeper conspiracy theory that basically they're setting up Peter Strzok as the fall guy for this. And the deep state's moving very quickly to paint him as, he was responsible for everything.
So this is what they're saying about him. He was one of the lead agents on the Hillary email investigation. He's the one who interviewed Huma Abedin, Cheryl Mills, Hillary Clinton, didn't put any of them under oath, didn't record anything. And then, as we saw in the end, recommended to Comey that, well, I don't know if you recommended, but you changed the wording. So what they were saying they did wasn't illegal, clearly. And
also, he's the guy that went through the initial emails that came out and said, "Oh, there's only 10 classified ones here, and they're not a big deal." And then he went through 50,000 other emails, and then also was like, "Oh, there's nothing here to worry about."
Yep, that's right. Clearly, he got the Wiener laptop with all his emails. Like, yep, it's all good. And then he's also one of the lead agents now in this the Trump matter. And he didn't even tell General Flynn he was going to interview him, kind of ambushed him. And of course, he was on record. He was recording all that stuff. And apparently they don't have a real crime to charge him with, because all they can charge him with is lying to the FBI, which is just a process crime.
Right. And that indicates. Go ahead.
Like, if they had, I could understand like a plea deal and getting a lesser charge, but I would have thought they would want a lesser charge that had to do with some kind of conspiracy, because what kind of a witness are you going to have? A guy who's like a convicted liar. Yeah, our convicted liar here is saying, this now. Right.
How's he going to be believed, type of thing. But that does, his deal that he made, though, does give him, it's like basically got rid of all the NDAs that he was under the Obama administration and during this time. So he's now free to talk about anything and everything that went on. And it might play into this Trump's long game, which is to try to take down the Clintons and Obamas overall, and having all these people on the team, for Mueller's team, that's going to be disgraced. So they're going to go down hard. And then he's going to have Flynn be able to expose all this other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's a way to be able to talk. I mean, if you knew you didn't do anything wrong, but you knew you're being recorded, lie to the FBI and then agree to cooperate, get that NDA lifted and spill it all. Oh, because I mean, he worked for Obama too. I'm sure he's seen some shit.
Yeah, without a doubt, dude. And so it's going to be fascinating to see. Like, I reading this guy's tweets, and I'll say the tweets that Howie and we actually like to read on this, because they're very well thought out, is from this guy named Imperator Rex, which is Imperator_Rex3 on Twitter. But he really lays them out in a way that you read it and you go, yep, makes sense. Like, he checks all the boxes off. And even Mueller, like, you look at Mueller and you go, okay, well, why would Mueller, who was a big Clinton, he was in DC for 12 years as head of the FBI. That takes a while. It's hard to do that. You can't be a dummy. And he was on Team Clinton. He's involved in this uranium deal, this Uranium One deal with Russia in a bizarre way as the courier, right? So he's in there and you go, why the hell is he doing that? But he's involved. So you wonder now, you say, okay, well, is Mueller on Team Trump? Like you had mentioned about earlier, is he flipped already? And is this all a setup where Trump's saying, okay, look, you're going to do this, but you're going to expose this from the inside. You're going to pull these people in knowing that they are part of this corrupt entity that the Clinton Obama ran. And we're going to get them all in one big swoop, where by the time they realize that we set up this whole mousetrap, they're all going to be stuck. The bathtub, they're going to flip out of the bathtub. The little laundry basket's going to click down the thing, and it's going to trap the mouse. And everybody's going to That mousetrap game was so hard. It never worked. No, never. One goddamn time did it work. It was such a legend.
So this is important. Mueller, apparently Trump, supposedly it was like a few days before the investigation started, interviewed him to possibly be the new head of the FBI. But we need to remember, as you said, he served 12 years and he had to get like special permission for Congress for those 2 extra years, because you're only supposed to do it for 10. So Trump couldn't have even hired him unless he got like Congress's permission. He was already like pretty much ineligible. So I really doubt that's what this meeting was about. So he had some kind of secret meeting with Trump. Then he gets named as the lead investigator on this case. So who knows what's going on?
Yeah, it's one of those amazing and exciting. Like, I'm so excited now. It's funny because I was so upset about the amount of time and energy wasted investigating this bullshit claim about Russia and collusion, because it's just so absurd. But if the end result is that the Clintons go to jail and maybe even Obama goes to jail, that'll never happen.
Oh, my God.
But maybe the Clintons.
I'll have to take a week off of work because I'll just be home drinking and celebrating.
Without a doubt. We'll have to go hole up somewhere in the mountains and get hammered. But yeah, if that's the end result, oh my God, I will just be
And I felt like it was getting close. This weekend, I woke up and Trump's tweeting about like how Flynn's getting screwed and crooked Hillary lied to the FBI so much. I'm like,
tatters.
Is it time? Are they about to do the big reveal? Is this it?
Well, it's interesting to see the response from all the establishment heads too, and the people in the FBI, like Eric Holder, who is a total piece of garbage. And like Comey, who's like, Trump's like the FBI's in tatters, and they're jumping to his defense on Twitter and be like, oh, no, the FBI is great. It's full of upstanding people who are apolitical. They would never do anything like this. How dare Trump, blah, 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 blah. It's like, those boys are running scared.
And they're trying to make it seem like Trump is criticizing the whole FBI, like the average Joe FBI man, but he's not. It's clearly the leadership. But they're like, oh, can you believe what he's saying about you? We believe in you, FBI. It's like, no, you guys at the top are the corrupt motherfuckers. He's not talking about the average FBI agent.
Yep. I love it. All right. So anyway, anything else to add to this? Otherwise we can. No,
I'd probably screw up Imperator Rex's theories. Everybody should look him up though. There is, I heard a rumor. Some people thought like it was Rex Tillerson.
Yeah, I'd heard that too.
That's true.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Wouldn't that'd be so crazy?
That'd be ridiculous. Definitely not going to be Rex Tillerson. But yeah, you check out this guy though. Like I said, how do you say? I say imperator. You say imperator.
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 Is that how you're supposed to say it? Make it.
I think so. I had to take Latin in high school.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's that Imperator Rex. He is very interesting on Twitter. So yeah, definitely check him out. And, just final thoughts of this whole thing from me. I just, again, talking to my friends, talking to like any people on the left about this, it really just blows your mind. Cause like I said, when I'm presenting them with the opportunity, I'm not even interrupting them. I'm presenting them the opportunity to clearly state why they feel there is Trump collusion with Russia, or that there's anything wrong with what Flynn did or anything else. I can let them talk for 10 minutes and literally nothing coherent comes out. And I still have to ask myself, and when they're done, I tell them why they're wrong and they still won't believe me. They still say, nope, there's something there, man. It just goes to show you like how strong the hatred of Trump is and how strong the team mentality in this country is. And that's what sickens me. Is like you could present people with absolute facts. And look, as libertarians, we do this all the time when we present people with the facts on poverty or government spending on welfare programs and how little they actually affect anything and how they've been proven not to work despite increased spending, or education and how it does not fucking work, or foreign policy. And people, though, refuse to change their mind in any way, shape, or form. And it's heartbreaking.
Trump derangement syndrome is a serious issue. Just look at Joy Behar.
Yeah. Wait, what did Joy Behar do?
Oh, so when the whole thing with Flynn happened, they brought her out like the news, like while she was live on TV, but they had it completely wrong, saying that candidate Trump was having him make contact with
Brian
Russians.
Ross. Oh, we didn't even talk about that. Yep. Brian Ross of ABC. Yeah, that hack. Same hack so he cost $350 million in losses on the stock market. And this is not the first time. He also messed up a story about chemical weapons in Iraq, releasing it despite people telling me he was wrong. Yeah, he's a complete hack. So, okay, so continue. She went with the Brian Ross initial report that candidate Trump had.
Yeah, so she thought it's over for Trump. He's being impeached, and she went like crazy on air, like all excited. And then, they probably had to be during the commercial, be like, that's not exactly what happened.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, Trump derangement syndrome is 100% correct. I think Scott Adams coined that phrase.
Yep.
Dead on. All right. Well, you know what? Let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit more with Howard Snowdon.
I know many of you are facing major decisions with your healthcare right now, and I want to make sure that you know about an amazing alternative to your standard corporatized health insurance known as Health Excellence Plus. Health Excellence Plus is an incredible program that helps you keep medical costs under control by taking charge of your own healthcare and not leaving all the decisions about what doctors you see and what procedures you need or don't need up to some corporate bureaucrat. Along with providing 24/7 access to medical professionals, tax-deferred health savings accounts, and preventative care, Health Excellence Plus empowers you to finally take control of your healthcare. To learn more, head on over to lionsofliberty.com/health or call the special hotline for Lions of Liberty listeners at 855-290-4447. Be sure to mention Lions of Liberty.
All right, welcome back, guys, to Electric Liberty Land here on the Lions of Liberty podcast. This is episode 49, as I said at the top of the show. So you can check out all the show notes there at lionsofliberty.com/ELL49. And of course, please do check out our sponsor that you just heard Mark talking about. So I'm back. I'm here with Howie Snowdon, one of my good friends, the Godfather of the Lions of Liberty. And now I want to talk a little bit about this Congressional Sexy Slush Fund, as I like to call it, which is basically called the Congressional Accountability Act. It's hilarious. The name, the irony of the name, it just gives me so much joy because it was basically created to hold Congress accountable for sexually harassing women or men or whoever doing something shady and shitty within Capitol Hill or just, I guess, anywhere really. But what this Accountability Act did was put in a whole ridiculous set of Byzantine rules, which these accusers have to navigate, including if you're accused, let's say, Howie, you were a page. Which congressman molested you? We'll start with him.
None did, but if one had, it probably would have been Mark Foley.
All right, let's say Mark Foley allegedly molested Howie. Hypothetically. So this was when were you? Were you a page in 1995? Because that's when the Congressional Accountability Act was put in place.
97.
All right, excellent. So it's all coming together. So, all right, hypothetically, Mark Foley molested Howie, right? So Howie then would have to go and file a claim with this, this Accountability Act group, whoever oversees it. And then before anything actually happens, Howie would have to go through 90 days of counseling, and I'm sure that counseling is basically saying, are you sure this happened? Do you really want to do this to your country? Don't you think you're a terrible patriot? And then after those 90 days, and meanwhile, the senators don't have to do any of this. They don't go through any counseling. And then after that 90 days, then you might get your settlement, and then they can pay you out of a taxpayer-funded slush fund. So, Howie, is it too late to file a complaint for you? And what do you think of this whole setup they've got?
So, no, I honest to God don't have any complaint to file, but I did see some shady shit involving Mark Foley, and I reported it to Hustler magazine because Larry Flint was offering $1 million for people with dirt on Republicans. Unfortunately, I would only get the $1 million if he came out against Bill Clinton and his sex scandals, and he never did. So I got sued. Then about 10 years later, get kicked out of Congress for being a gay pedophile. But yeah, this whole thing is crazy. And I'm pretty sure, at least for a business I know, I think it's illegal to use your investors' funds for personal lawsuits without telling them.
Yeah,
I can't believe this has been kind of hidden from the people, that they're paying off all these allegations with our money stolen from us.
Very good point, man. Yeah, there's no way in hell that the government should be paying out for these people out of a taxpayer-funded account when it's a personal allegation, is a personal conduct misstep, doing these kind of things. And yet they want to sweep it under the rug. And again, under this ironically named act, which until all these allegations came forward.
Every act is the opposite of what it says.
Oh, yeah.
And everything they accuse someone of, they are guilty of themselves.
Oh, of course. Well, it's what is it? The USA Freedom Act or something like that put all the NSA spying apparatus back into place after the Patriot Act provisions expired.
Something like that. Freedom Act or Liberty Act. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there's one more thing I forgot to mention in this too. So
affordable health.
Yeah. So in addition to all of the other little skips, the 90-day counseling and all that good stuff. Additionally, so outside Congress, workers with claims can file a lawsuit in federal court whenever they want. However, if they work for Congress, let's say you're a congressional aide or something like that, and you get your titties squeezed or you get your wang, schlong slapped, then if you go to court and you try to file and you fail to follow the procedures that are set in place by this act, then your claims would be jeopardized under the law. So I guess what they're saying is like, if you don't follow the rules and you work for the government when you're filing a claim of sexual assault or something like that, they could be like, well, you know what? You didn't follow the rules. You kind of signed on to that when you joined. So, go fuck yourself.
Yeah. I mean, whether it's the sexual harassment stuff or even I'm sure Edward Snowden felt like he couldn't go through the official channels and process and have anything exposed or changed.
Yeah, probably right. And it's
but I can't believe how many of these people are getting kicked out of Congress for being scumbags.
Oh yeah, Conyers.
I love it.
Oh
yeah.
Well, look, I'm not a passionate fan of the Republicans or the Democrats, but I am a passionate fan of seeing hypocrites get their fucking comeuppance. And that's what we're seeing here. When you see all these people, yet, I still don't know, like Al Franken, whether or not I go down on saying, all right, well, he deserves what he's getting. But it's funny to see all these people that are, outspoken rights activists and now I'm a Democrat for the people and women's rights. And then it's like, oh yeah, like Conyers. So you fired a chick after you tried to have sex with her and she rebuffed you. And this other girl, you had sex with her and she was all drugged out and she was a cocaine addict and you knew about it. And I was like, just such shady.
Oh, but it was also like Conyers isn't racist because he was like sexually harassing white women, but they're racist for accusing a black congressman of this behavior.
I love the logic behind it. Yeah, so it's clearly a witch hunt against this guy, who, by the way, is, even without admitting that he did it, I love how he's like, oh, I'm not going to run again. This basically says, you're guilty, like you're not going to risk it. And yeah, he's one of many.
Oh, you're not going to run again? The oldest man in Congress?
He was run again. Come on, people never leave. He cannot be.
So actually, I don't know if
South Carolina's.
I don't know if you heard today, he's stepping down and he endorsed his son for his place, but his nephew is already running for it.
I saw that. Yeah, his nephew.
This is like some kind of backstabbing family.
I hope so. I hope his nephew runs as a Republican. He just hates the family so much that he's like, screw all of you.
Actually, can you imagine if, so I think the governor then will get to replace him if he leaves now. If they put a Republican, as the representative, I think it's his area covers like Detroit and like places like that.
Wow, Detroit might actually have a shot at becoming legitimate again. I do love how the places like Detroit and like all these cities that are in the direst circumstances all have had Democratic leadership and Democratic policies in place for like 25, 30 years, and they're all just completely bankrupt.
And they just keep doing it.
They just keep doing it again and again and again. So back on this topic, hardcore though. So they have paid out, as of right now, over $17 million in settlements since 1995. I mean, how many? I'm trying to think about like the average settlement. Let's just use this one. Conyers allegedly settled one claim for $27,000, right? So if let's say the average settlement ranges between $27,000 and $50,000, this has been in place since 1995. So approximately 20 years, a little over 20 years, $17 million. I don't know if I calculated it out, but that seems like a hell of a lot of goddamn sexual assault and sexual harassment allegations.
Yeah. And I know, I don't know if it's Tulsi Gabbard or some people are bringing legislation up to make them like release the names of all these people that were, so at least the voters can know and get these scumbags out of there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's the other thing. Yeah. Why would they not make this apparent? I mean, I know why, because Congress doesn't want to rat itself. It does like Congress likes to exempt itself from Obamacare rules and give itself pay increases when everybody else is on a moratorium on raises. So yeah, I we'll see. I would be shocked if it got through. Hopefully there's just enough outrage that they can't not push it through at this point to expose them. And then, oh my God, can you imagine the fallout from that if all these assholes got exposed?
Man, I hope like the whole Congress gets kicked out.
You know what? You know what the future of the Libertarian Party is, dude? The future of the Libertarian Party is this bill from, and yeah, you're right. It was Tulsi Gabbard is definitely one of them, and it's one other Republican senator, female senator. But if that gets pushed through, that's the new libertarian moment, my friend. because that is a party we could say stand up for principles. We're for individual property rights. That means control over your body. No one's allowed to do this stuff to you. No one's allowed to touch you without your consent. This is like where libertarians can actually get in and take some offices, because everyone's going to be so disgusted with people on both sides, because there's going to be so many scumbags in Washington over this.
So have any libertarians faced these accusations yet?
Well, I mean, John McAfee got accused of killing a guy, but he's not in public office.
That's different.
He's not in there, though. Rand Paul, I guarantee, is clean as a whistle, as is Ron. And I mean, the only other piece, Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey has red apple cheeks. I don't think he's even had an erection in his life, let alone try to assault anybody.
I can't see Justin Amash doing that either.
No, me neither.
I think the good ones are safe.
Yeah. I hope Justin Amash gets a movie made after him, because it can star the guy that was like the lead in the live action Beauty and the Beast, and voiced that Frosty the Snowman character. Josh Gad? Yes. Josh Gad is his name. Look him up. He'd make a perfect Justin Amash in the movie called Justin Amash, Vice President on Trumpelstiltskins.
Hey, not to get too off topic, because we're talking about these congressmen and senators, I wanted to point out, I don't know if anyone saw, so John McCain apparently hurt his foot or something. He had been wearing some kind of brace. And then there were pictures he had on Twitter. He had it on the opposite foot. And people looked to see if it was photoshopped, like, oh, his buttons are on the right side, everything. It wasn't flipped or anything. And so I'm thinking, if this guy's lying about his foot, I don't think he even really has brain cancer. I bet he's lying about that too.
He probably is too. He's going to have a stroke or something like that. Like, he'll have brain cancer. Like, oh, it's impacting the one side of his face, and he's giving him muscle twitches, and then that'll keep changing sides.
Hey, if Trump is coming after the deep state, I think maybe he's doing that. Pelosi seems like she's pretending she's got Alzheimer's or something.
Well, dude, my favorite part of that foot thing was the excuse he gave as to why the boot was on the other foot. Like, the official statement from McCain's office was that the boot was getting, like, he wanted to air it out or something like that. So he switched it to the other foot. And it's like, why would you put the boot back on the other leg instead of just taking it off either leg? And like, if you're going to air out the one side, you wouldn't put it on the other foot.
The other theory that it's probably not true, but I wish it was, is Hillary apparently is wearing the same exact model boot, and they're like, maybe they're trying to hide ankle bracelets.
Trump's got him tracked at all times.
Too good to be true.
Oh, it'd be so great. I you know what? I can't wait to excuse. I wish more people knew about the McCain boot story and his excuse of just putting it on the other side to air it out, so I could use it in everyday life. If anybody caught me in any sort of lie, I'll just be like, well, no, baby, I wasn't cheating on you. I just wanted to, put it on the other side and air it out. She'll be like, what? What? I'll be like, no, it makes sense. All right. So let's move on to our final topic today. And that is all the furor that's going on right now. And people are just, as with anything Trump does, but all these eco nuts now are losing their shit because Trump wants to rein in what I consider a giant federal land grab by the Obama administration, late in the administration, which was basically to expand this national monument. There were a couple of them, but this one was specifically Bears Ears National Monument. And I'm not sure what the exact original size was, but maybe it's what Trump has it at now. Basically, Obama expanded it from about 220 acres to 1.7 million acres of land. And that's now protected national park land. So the people of Utah, understandably, were like, all right, screw that noise. We use a lot of this land for grazing, which again doesn't ruin anything in the environment. It's not hurting anything, but it's public land that they are now using that now they are denied access to, told to get off. Their cows and sheep can't graze there. And so the locals are pissed off. Meanwhile, there's all these polls showcasing national sentiment that all these assholes point to. And of course, the national sentiment is that, well, we all love parks. Yes, more parks, more environmentalism, ignoring the people that actually live there. So what do you think about Trump reining that in, Howie? And what do you think about, in general, the status of private versus public lands?
So when you first told me we were going to be talking about this, they're like, oh, my God, we're helping to kill like 1 million people in Yemen. The drug wars ruined thousands of lives. Like, who gives a shit about this public land? But then I looked into it, and holy shit, there's a story here. So this Bears Ears, I could say it now, this came into existence. This was made a national monument or whatever you want to call it by Bill Clinton in 1996. Now, something I haven't heard anybody mention about this Bears Ears area is there's about $1 trillion worth of this, this unusual, like, clean burning coal that only exists in like 2 other places in the world. One is like Colombia, in like a place you're not going to be able to get to. You have to build all these roads and shit. And the other place is Indonesia. And there's this company, I think it was called the Lippo Group or something. And someone associated with them, this guy, John Huang, was funneling all this money to the Clinton Foundation because he was involved in all the projects, the coal projects in Indonesia, and they wanted that coal staying in the ground in Bears Ears and not making it to the market.
I like that theory. By the way, your mic's like banging around a little bit right now. I don't know if you're smacking your head on it or what.
I was playing with the cord to the headphones. Sorry.
Oh, that's what that
but no,
was.
but I mean, Jesus Christ, you look into anything and it's Clinton corruption, money going to the Clinton Foundation.
Dude, that's
every goddamn thing.
Any of that. That's
awesome. I had no idea that this was all. Oh, and so this came up in like the investigations. They decided that the rumor is they decided not to investigate it further, that there was kind of like this double deal made where the Republicans were like, listen, we're only going to go after you about the sex stuff. And you to like drop the whole thing about the Koch brothers breaking campaign finance laws, which helped the Republicans retake the Congress back then. So it's just corruption all around. But back to just, public land, all that. No, I'm glad Trump's selling it off. There's no need for all this land. I forget. I heard like the percentage. I think it was Utah. Is that where the Bundy Ranch is?
God, I don't know.
It could be a different state. When I heard the percentage of the land that was public land, it was ridiculous. It was like almost the whole entire freaking state was declared like public land. I mean,
well, on a federal level, this is why I want to get into like the discussion with private versus public lands too, is that, the federal government basically considers all this land theirs. Like, and instead of the state's land, like the land belongs to the states, but the federal government has this presumption that they own all this land. So when you can just have a government step in and go, all right, well now this 1.5 million acres is ours now, and screw all the local people that live there, screw you and your state legislature, we're just going to do it. That is unacceptable. On any level, unacceptable that the federal government has that power and presumes to own that land over the states. So that's where, for me, like this, it brought it to a head. And I do love the whole Clinton tie, and it makes perfect sense too. That they'd want to protect these investing interests and these mining all the mining money that's coming in for their friends in Indonesia. This white guy.
Screw Americans.
Yeah, but it's like it's funny where and Trump's he's not selling the land back off. He's basically just saying it's not federal land anymore. He's giving it back to the state, to my understanding. So when I see all these people talk about it, and we're having a conversation in the forum about this, get outraged because they're like, oh, who's going to protect this land? Well, okay, number one. Nobody was sticking their dicks and raping the land as it was. It was basically being cared for by people grazing on it, natural animal use. And either way, if you want to develop some of that land for private use or business use or whatever that's going to help people actually survive and thrive, I don't see a problem with that. But even that considered, like there was another person in our forum made this example. That's a very good example of a privatized land that was made public and annexed by the government by him. And what ended up happening was that the people who had been grazing on it and keeping the grass short and taking care of it, they no longer took care of it. And the federal government simply let it grow out and go wild as protected land. And what happened? Goddamn wildfires burned it up routinely. And that's what happens often when you have people, you don't have the government. They're not paying attention. Just like with anything, like, again, this conversation in the forum, I was giving an example of, okay, what happens when you have public lands or public goods, and how do you see the government take care of them? We don't even need to get into like education or anything like that.
It's always a tragedy of the commons situation.
Well, it's a tragedy of the commons, but it just in general, if you give the governance of something, like let's say a park, right? Okay, they end up run down. If you ever gone to try to take a shit in a public park, you know what I'm talking about. The facilities are not well taken care of. It is a nightmare. And you look at the roads. Our roads in this country are crumbling. Those are the responsibilities of the federal government, which we've ceded to them. They're in a horrible state of disrepair. In California, it's the biggest nightmare ever trying to get anywhere. And meanwhile, they just raised our goddamn taxes on gas to pay for it. And all it does is go into a slush fund. So no one can make the argument to me that government can take better care of this land than a private institution could or private investors could. And they can make it into their own park. Or at least just give it to the states, not the federal government.
I mean, can anyone even give a example of something that the government hasn't royally screwed up? Like anything.
It doesn't exist. There's no example of anything the government hasn't fucked up. Somebody will say, they'll go, it writes for the races. That's what they'll say. But people also forget that the government was complicit in causing all of the strife and all of the segregation in the first place, because government was responsible for segregating people before it was responsible for desegregating them.
That's right.
People like to ignore that fact.
I mean, that was already changing on its own. They changed the laws after it's already happening, and they're like, see what we did?
Yeah, exactly.
Or it's
the government is the epitome of like a guy comes home or a guy, some flowers are delivered to work and nobody wants them. And he's like, oh, I guess I'll bring these home for my wife. And then he takes credit for it. That's it. We are the wife. The government is bringing us flowers that they took out of the garbage. Could have had them anyway. I don't know if that analogy made perfect sense, but it doesn't have to. This is Electric Liberty Land. Nothing has to make sense on this show.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Anything else to add on this topic, Howie? Otherwise, I'll wrap it up. Or anything else to add in general? And thoughts on life, words of wisdom.
Yeah, I just hope people, vote for TBD. That's
There you go. Go vote for TBD. You can go, again, Lions of Liberty Forum, guys. But regardless of the forum, I do want you to make sure you follow us on social media. Follow me at Brian McWilliams on Twitter. You can follow Lions of Liberty at Lions of Liberty. Howie, do you want to share your Twitter address? I don't know if you want to or not.
I don't even know what it is. It's probably at Howard Snowdon, I bet. I don't know.
Probably something like that. But you can interact with Howie on the forum, so I recommend doing that. And guys, remember, you can support this show any number of ways. We've got beautiful T-shirts for Electric Liberty Land and other shows like Mark Claire on Mondays with his in-depth interviews with the Liberty Movement. You've got John Odie Odermatt on Fridays with Felony Fridays. He's got some fantastic T-shirts there you can invest in with your time. And, of course, you can join the Lions of Liberty Pride, get all sorts of extra content that we put out and extra little goodies, pre-interviews, post-interviews, all sorts of stuff. So, guys, thank you to Howie Snowdon, my good buddy, Howie. Always a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks, Brian.
And thank you all for listening. From me, Brian McWilliams, from the Lions of Liberty, from Electric Liberty Land. Always stay plugged in to Liberty.